Hello, my name is Kjartan Dysdal, and this is a tutorial on how to break up a wall and how to make those pieces fly towards the camera dynamically. I'm going to use the Cell Fracture add-on to do the fracturing operation. And the first thing I'm going to do is to do a Boolean operation. Just have add a icosphere to the scene and use that as a Boolean cutting object. This is you can of course just go in and do the modeling manually if you like. In this case, that would take a little bit too long, and thing is with fracturing you don't necessarily need to be that clean anyway, so you just have to make sure that what you get out is looks okay. Um, there's only, as far as I can tell, I think there's only two real things you need to be careful about. The one is that you have no holes in your mesh and that they don't intersect. Yeah, I'm setting up two materials, one for the wall and one for the inner pieces, inner faces, and I'm making that into a bright color so that I can see the inner cut, and I'm also assigning that inner material to the icosphere, and then you can see that those inner faces get that bright color. And I'm duplicating the wall and changing the operation to difference, so that you have two different objects, one with difference and one with intersect. Two different objects, two different modifiers. And I'm going to convert both into just normal geometry. So I do Alt-C and to convert to mesh. Then I take the inner piece, put it onto its own layer, and I'm going to do the fracturing. So just activate the Cell Fracture add-on, go down to the button. You can also hit spacebar and just type Cell Fracture, and then that window pops up. So the way I'm going to do fracturing is I'm going to base it on points. So I just take one point, duplicate that a lot of times, and then each of those points represent one piece, more or less. So you can also do this with particles. You can do it based on the points of the object itself. The reason I'm doing it like this is just so that I can control it manually. It's a very nice way of controlling exactly where you want the pieces to be. So I get more pieces in the middle and less out to the sides of the piece. Now I'm parenting that point cloud to the object itself, so that the point cloud is a child of the object, and I'm turning on child vertices as point source. And here's a overview of the most important settings. Recursion to 1, material 1, so that you use the second material on that object. Margin is set to very, very low. It's 0.0001. They get a group and a layer index to 3, so that these pieces, they end up on a specific layer. So that's pretty much it. Now you just hit OK and let the add-on do its thing. And this is what we get. Just checking the fracture and see if it works. It's always a good idea to check and see if your fracturing operation, if it went. There's the Boolean object. It's always a good idea to check if it actually worked. And when you do a fracture, it's also smart to set up a preset so that you can easily go back to the previous settings, because when I do fracturing, it's very often a a trial and error process. Just go back and forth all the time and tweak settings. Now we are at the second part of this tutorial. I'm going to set up the dynamics, and I'm going to use the game engine logic. I'm giving the floor a little bit of a margin, and I'm pulling it down by 0.1, negative 0.1 on the z-axis. And now I'm changing the world settings, so subset to to 10, and 6 FPS to the frames per second to 24 in the world settings. If you don't change that, then you will have a slow motion effect, and sometimes that's nice, but most often you probably want to change it. And I'm making the projectile, or the thing that is going to move the fragments. That's just an icosphere. It can be anything. Then I open the logic editor and make a always and a simple motion actuator, and then I'm going to link those. Set the motion to 0.13 on the negative y-axis, and now you see that the fractures they fall before the projectile hits them. So we have to set up some logic for that. And the way I do that is just I make an always sensor and a edit object, change that to dynamics and to suspend dynamics. So they start suspended. And then I make a nair sensor, set the property to trigger, and I'm going to give the projectile a property called trigger, so that when trigger hits or is close to this shard, we are going to restore the dynamics. So there I selected the projectile and added a game property trigger called trigger. Now I just select all the pieces. We already had a group, so that was practical. Hit spacebar, copy logic to select it, and now you see it gets close. They go from suspended dynamics to actually becoming dynamic, and then they get hit by the projectile. I am tweaking the distance on the nair sensor just so that they don't start falling too soon. So now you see we get a little bit more predictable, or a little bit better result. Nice. So next step is to record this dynamic this motion into actual f-curves. Just game record animation from the menu, and there you see we have it in the viewport. But the problem is there's some intersection with the wall. So the way I'm going to solve this is just set up a geometry that is meant only as a blocking geometry. Just scale it up, tweak it, make sure that it has the shape that I want, and then just rerun the simulation, and now you get a little bit better results. So this is one way that you can control your simulation and choreograph. So this is the effect. So thanks for watching.